All right, welcome to Ringside Report. I am Dave Simon. Fred Garcia and AJ DeLesio are here with me. What's up, guys?
What's up, homie?
What's up, AJ? What's up, Freddy?
What's up, brother?
Yeah.
What's up, brother?
Freddy's rocking the
Brother
cool
from another
Hulk.
mother.
Yeah, he's rocking the cool Hulk Hogan little.
See, AJ didn't get that reference.
No, he didn't get it at all. I saw that you were wearing the Hogan thing. I got the brother. AJ's like, yeah, hey, brother. He didn't get it. It's okay, AJ.
No, I said brother from another mother. I thought that's what you meant.
Yeah, I know. You didn't get it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's. We've got some MMA to talk about here over the next hour. We're on YouTube live every Thursday night, YouTube and Facebook live. You can watch us, as many of you are right now. You can listen to us as well on the radio on TSN 690 on Friday nights. We're all over the place, ringsidereport.net. We talk MMA every single week, and we've got some MMA to talk about. It's kind of weird, guys, that there's still MMA to talk about. We're the only sport really still possibly happening at this point right now, right? There's no other sports going on. Everybody's staying indoors. Everybody's doing the distancing and all that type of stuff. And now the UFC is talking about doing a fight on April the 18th, UFC 249. I want to talk about whether or not that is actually going to happen. We'll also talk about Jon Jones, who last week got arrested, this week pled guilty, and we'll tell you what kind of penalties Jon Jones will be facing. Also, a UFC champion is injured and out of a title defense that's supposed to take place in June, but even then, you never know. And just news all around the MMA world. I want to start, though, with Khabib Nurmagomedov and the title fight that was supposed to happen April 18th, UFC 249 in Brooklyn, New York against Tony Ferguson. The Brooklyn, New York thing is not happening. We knew that, several weeks ago. Now it seems like Khabib is not happening. Now here's a story with Khabib Nurmagomedov to get you caught up. Khabib was training in the United States at the American Kickboxing Academy in San Jose, where he does all his training camps. He was preparing for this fight against Tony Ferguson. The UFC told Khabib that this fight would not be taking place in the United States. This is according to Khabib. Khabib says, the UFC told me this fight would not happen in the U.S. There's no way it would happen in the U.S., and it would probably happen in the United Arab Emirates. It would probably happen somewhere like in Abu Dhabi. So Khabib flies over there. They tell him that he can come into the country, into the United Arab Emirates, but he may not be able to leave. So Khabib says, okay, well, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get stuck here. I'm just going to go back to Russia where I live. I'm going to go back to Dagestan. So Khabib goes back to Dagestan, and now the UFC is talking about possibly holding the fight somewhere in the United States with all American fighters, some sort of fight card on April 18th, something called UFC 249, with a main event featuring Tony Ferguson, who's still in the United States, but no Khabib Nurmagomedov because he's stuck in Russia. And also, Khabib, I don't think really thinks that it's safe right now to travel, as it's not, right? Nobody's traveling right now. It doesn't seem like the right thing to do. So the UFC, last week, Dana White said, we are going to announce where this fight card is going to take place this week. That was last week. We still don't know where this fight is going to take place. I am betting now that it just doesn't happen. But the UFC and everybody is maintaining that it is going to happen. Now, guys, given the situation right now with no Khabib, these are the facts, AJ, that I'm laying out in front of you so you don't deviate from the facts as you are known to do. So Khabib is out of this fight. The talk is that perhaps Justin Gaethje would step in and fight Tony Ferguson instead. Fred, I'm going to put it to you first before we get AJ's wild take. Do you think that this is a fight that needs to happen right now? Does UFC 249 need to happen, especially considering the Khabib-Tony fight is off the table because Khabib is not leaving Dagestan, Russia right now? Fred, are you still
Well,
with us?
I would tell you it's like perspective. If it's from Dana White, yeah, if it's from Dana White's perspective, well, he needs this fight to happen. Dana White has been pretty like open about the fact that he wants the show to continue. He wants fights to happen. He wants guys to be fighting. And if you look at the fighters themselves, I would tell you there's a lot of fighters I think that do want the fights to go on because they need to make some money. So as far as Dana White, some fighters, yes, like you'll find some people that want fights to go on and that would be willing to participate. I think the issue is more around the logistics, like putting this fight together, getting like government approval, whether it's from a fighting commission or wherever. Like right now, you're not allowed to rent like places to held these events. Like where are you going to have this event if you're not allowed to have more than like 10 or 15 employees? So I think it's more a question of logistics that's going to be an issue for the UFC.
All right.
AJ?
Look, if you listen to Joe Rogan, and I think he brought up a good point. He says, listen, Florida was supposed to be their number one place to have this fight. But because of the whole like commission and all this kind of stuff and the security of the fighters as well behind the actual setup of this fight, they have to be careful that no one gets this virus, which is a strong possibility that they can. But Rogan said it best. He says, you know what? They can get rid of the commission. They can get rid of like all the logistics in a sense. And by hosting this fight on a ship, he was talking a battleship. If anybody could pull something like this off, it's Dana White. He's very tight with the military. He's very tight with Trump. And if anybody could pull it off, and you know Dana, he wants to have this fight. It's the only sport that could be hosted other than the WWE, which, was pre-taped. But the only live fight right now would be the UFC. If he pulls it off, well, Dana wins. But again, like I said, there's to it because having a fight.
Well,
somebody brought up a good point. They said this: you've got an overwhelmed health system. You have an overwhelmed hospitals with issues. All of a sudden, you have fighters fighting. We don't have to worry only about the coronavirus. But if a fighter ends up breaking his jaw or breaking his hand or leg or whatever, Silva kick, he's going to be forced to go to a hospital. They're going to be forced to have an operation under these extreme conditions.
Of course.
I don't think it's right.
Yeah, no, I understand.
AJ makes sense.
Yeah, no, that does make a lot of sense. You are making sense. I'm a little bit surprised that you're making so much sense right now and you're being rational. I don't think these
but it wasn't about you. It
rest.
was about the Dana White.
Yeah, but I just don't think that these fights can happen, I don't think that there's any way in the world that these fights make any kind of sense happening anywhere. Do you want guys going to the hospital? Do you want guys at risk? Do you want to put anybody at risk right now? Because no matter how you do it, it's a risky situation, and I don't think it's a smart move for the UFC to do, and especially now when it's not even worth the risk. At least with this Khabib-Tony fight, there was something there. There was this fight that everybody needed to see, and it would be nice and uplifting to see it happen. And I kind of wanted to see it no matter what because we just have been waiting so many years for these two guys to fight and figure out who's number one at 155 pounds. But at this point, Khabib's in Russia. The fight is not going to happen. And somebody said, oh, well, Khabib could take a private plane out of Russia, fly into the United States and fight there. Yeah, okay, but would he be allowed back into Russia afterwards? Would he be completely separated from his family in this time of crisis? It doesn't seem like a smart move for Khabib to do. It doesn't seem like a smart move for the UFC to still be trying to put fights on. And I think it's really surprising that Dana White is the only, legitimate sport. I guess Dana White and Vince McMahon with sports entertainment, the only two guys that are putting on weekly big television shows. I guess AEW as well. It's weird how pro wrestling and MMA have continued to try and operate in some sort of way while every other sport has just completely given up.
Well, as far as the battleship, the NCAA basketball last year or 2 years ago hosted a tournament on a battleship. And I know basketball also has had the discussion of doing either a tournament on a ship, or maybe like in Vegas where they would be secluded, because right now all the casinos are closed in Vegas. So you could probably like rent a couple of casinos and have one team in each casino and, seclude them. So other sports also are trying to figure out how they're going to do this. I'm hearing also golf is starting to talk about maybe getting back into it. Hey, right now it's a race to be back active for all these sports because they want some revenues. They completely understand you guys' point of view, and I don't think these fights are going to happen, but I understand why some of these CEOs of big companies, they want to get the revenues back in, and to get back in, you got to get the action back going.
Yeah, but Freddie, you also have to think about the lawsuits that can incur if anything happens at any major sport, being it golf to MMA. I mean, if Dana White pulls something with no glitch, then you know what? He's a lucky son of a bee. But the truth of the matter is that
I don't think it's going to happen. I agree with you. And I don't think the lawsuit comes from a fighter or anything. I think it comes more from an employee, whether it's an employee from the venue where the thing is happening or an employee of the UFC. That's where the scare of the lawsuit is. Because I truly think if Dana White wanted to do a fight card, he would find 20 fighters easily that want to participate. Fighters out there, There's a lot of guys that want to make money and they want to be active. So I don't think that would be the issue for Dana.
That's it. And, there's the other point about Tony Ferguson. People were saying, well, why is he so willing to go out and fight under these conditions? But if Tony Ferguson doesn't fight, he doesn't make money, right? Tony Ferguson.
And can I say one thing?
Tony Ferguson, just like everybody else in the UFC, they need to get paid. And just incidentally, the UFC London fighters that did not fight, that fight was supposed to go down March, 21st, I think. It got canceled in London. All those fighters got paid their show money, which is, it's all right.
Pretty cool.
It's good on the UFC for giving them something, but a lot of those fighters would have won. So no one got their win bonus, which is, if you're making $30,000 for the fight, you're going to make another $30,000 for the win. The UFC didn't give out that extra $30,000. No one got a win bonus, a win. Everybody just got money to show up when they didn't have to show up, which is okay, but it's not great considering it's like, look, say you were expecting to win, Say you thought, hey, I was going to win my fight. I was expecting to make $100,000, $50,000 to show, $50,000 to win. I just made $50,000 from the UFC, and I don't know when my next paycheck is coming. Right? So you could say it's a great and nice thing for the UFC, but as rich and powerful as the UFC is, it would have been nice for them to pay them their full money, not just their show money, but their show and win money to every fighter, just as a show of good faith that, hey, we care about you guys, and we want to take care of you guys, and we have the money to do it. It would have been nice had they gone the extra mile.
It would have been nice.
Dave,
it would have been nice.
I'm going to defend Dan on this.
Go.
Freddie, look at it this way. I think already a good gesture from Dana White and the UFC brass to give show money, which could be $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, and you have no injuries. No one's walking away with any broken whatever. So you know what? They're going to fight again, and they're going to get their show money again, and they'll get their bonus.
I kind of agree with you.
So right now,
I kind of agree because if you look at it, players right now, they're not getting a paycheck. If you're not playing, you're not getting a paycheck. So in other sports, they're not getting paid either. As far as what you said earlier, Dave, about why Tony Ferguson would want to fight, I forget who mentioned that, but Tony Ferguson is 36 years old. Like, this guy right now has a chance to make decent money, and he's probably looking at it and going like, wow, I can't really lose a year or two of my career to wait for Khabib, wait for all of this to get. I fully understand why a guy like Tony Ferguson would want to fight. 36-year-old, he's got what? Maybe another 4 or 5 years of top like MMA competition. I get why he wants to fight.
It does make sense. His time is limited. Everybody's time is limited. He's geared up to fight. If the UFC tells him, he's living in California right now, if they tell him they've got a fight in LA for him on some sound stage and they can get him in there and fight Justin Gaethje and he's going to get paid a lot of money, a couple $1 million, hey, man, you can't fault Tony Ferguson for going out there and making his money. You know, if he wants to put himself at risk, I put no fault in any kind of fighter that wants to fight in this situation. If you guys want to go out and do that, look, fighters put themselves under enough risk. I understand fighters not wanting to fight under these circumstances. Like Derek Lewis, he said he would not fight under these circumstances. But I also understand the fighters who do want to fight because they want to make money. They want to keep fighting. They want to live business as usual. Look at us. We are doing the show. It's different, right? The fighters are going to be fighting under different circumstances, just like we're doing the show under different circumstances. Usually we're all sitting in a room together, right? It's a little bit different, but we're going on business as usual to a certain extent. So if we can do it, you know, if the fighters want to do it as well and figure out a way to do it safely, that's fine. But it's mostly on the UFC to figure out a way to do this safely, and I don't think there is a way to do this safely. So I don't think that the UFC should be doing fights whatsoever right now. They should be canceling their events. They should forget about this event that they have on the 25th in Lincoln, Nebraska. They're supposed to fight in Lincoln, Nebraska, Anthony Smith versus Glover Teixeira on the 25th of this month. They need to cancel that event because it's not happening. It's a joke that you can still buy tickets for this thing. They're supposed to fight on the 2nd of May in Oklahoma City. Chris Weidman versus Hermanson. What's his name? Jack Hermanson? They're supposed to fight. And that's not happening on May 2nd in Oklahoma City. UFC needs to get a grip, man. These fights are not happening until at least July.
I agree again with you, Dave, but I understand why they're not canceling it right now because they're keeping hope for this thing to get back into action. So like they're not every event and say, oh, we're just gonna reschedule everything. They cancel event by event. And right now, if you're stupid enough to buy some tickets for one of these events, well, I mean, like you can't save stupid people, man. Stop trying to save stupid people.
The state
if it
of
gets canceled, they'll get their money back.
Yeah, they will get their money back if you do buy tickets, but that's not the point. The point is the UFC still has these tickets on sale for April 25th in Lincoln, Nebraska. It's a joke. The state of California has banned and postponed, canceled everything, all combat sports until June 1st at least. Nothing in April, nothing in May until June 1st at least in the state of California. That's one state. And the state of California is going to be a leader. The other states are going to follow suit. These fights aren't happening. I don't understand how these fights happen. The only way that Dana White has UFC 249 or any other UFC fights happen in April or May is if he holds them somewhere where they're completely unsanctioned and they're not real fights. And fighters shouldn't be fighting under those circumstances.
Well, like we were saying earlier, I mean, if they pull it off and have a fight on a battle, totally legal and everything is as is, you know, that's the difference. But
that's not legal. That's not
it's legal.
Legit. Having
why not?
Pirate fights on a battleship that completely unsanctioned with no commission.
Why not?
What are you talking about?
Freddie brought it.
I'm starting
to think
basketball games. Waves?
Yeah,
not on a battleship.
Waves. Is it steady?
What waves? What do you think it is? Like the SS Minnow?
So you're talking about holding fights somewhere with an athletic commission sanctioning these fights?
Listen, even if they don't sanction it, it doesn't matter. The fans don't care. They just want to see who wins. Dana White will still give a belt out and whatever. It doesn't make a difference if it's sanctioned or not.
AJ doesn't care about the safety of the fighters. That's clear to me. AJ
less, I do.
He cares less than Dana White about the safety of the fighters.
Dave.
AJ,
I'm not sure that's fair.
Yeah, thank you, Freddie. Now I feel like freaking Jon Jones when he was in the car with the cop.
We'll get to Jon Jones.
Oh, I can't wait.
I know.
Listen,
but let's get back to Khabib for a second. Khabib, I completely understand staying in Russia, and nobody should fault him on that. Like some people, Conor McGregor has been talking a lot of trash on Khabib on Twitter and things like that. But look, in the end, AJ, I think, was saying, like, he's in Russia. What are you going to do? Like, the guy's not going to get out of there and hope to be able to go back. And also, in the past weeks, I was making the point, like, these guys are not training at their top level. Do we really want to see, like, Khabib versus Tony Ferguson, like, two guys that are not training as if, like, it's a championship fight? That's not the type of fight that has to be that should be put, like, quickly, you know, without the proper preparation. So it's a bummer. It's a bummer that we have to wait for all these fights, but it's normal. I
But
think we got to accept it.
Now, here
but
we
Freddie,
have a
but think
question
about
here.
it.
AJ, we have a question here coming in from our buddy
Yep.
Daniel Winston, dropping a question
Texas.
on the super chat. You can drop a question on the super chat as well if you're watching us live on YouTube. Thank you, Daniel. He says, do you think Conor McGregor and Khabib will fight each other because of the coronavirus now? And Tony Ferguson, that fight seems to be dropping out. So with Khabib now not fighting Tony, and Tony possibly fighting Justin Gaethje on some sort of pirate ship in international waters, do you think that Conor McGregor now fights Khabib Nurmagomedov instead? When Khabib does have this comeback fight, do you think it will be Khabib versus Conor? I'll answer that fight here, that question for Daniel. I think Khabib versus Conor, I think yes. I think if Tony Ferguson definitely fights somebody else other than Khabib or Conor here, then yeah, I think Khabib versus Conor will happen. But I don't think Tony Ferguson is going to take this Justin Gaethje fight. I have some audio to play for you guys, and I want to let you hear. First of all, no, let's hear about Tony Ferguson here saying he doesn't want to fight anybody but Khabib or Conor McGregor. Okay, so I'm not sure that he fights Justin Gaethje. Listen closely to what Tony Ferguson had to say on ESPN to Ariel Helwani.
The one thing I know is I'm going to stay consistent with my training, and it doesn't matter what location. You can drop me off on Khabib's front doorstep, man, and that dude still will not fight. He will out. It's defender vacate, Ariel. That dude needs to be stripped. I don't know. I haven't saw anything in the news this morning about the flights and everything. Rumor was it that he said basically he's like, I got to, take care of my family, my health, and everything. Man, bro, you have an obligation. You signed up on the dotted line to be representing not just your country, right? Because that's what you say. You represent your country and you do everything. You ran, bro. You listened to your pops and you did everything that you could to possibly avoid an ass whooping. Now, to me, in my opinion, nobody else deserves that ass whooping besides two people. That's McNuggets and Team Tiramisu. That's Khabib Nurmagomedov and Conor McGregor.
So there you go. He said
Boo.
nobody deserves, that ass whooping other than Khabib Nurmagomedov or Conor McGregor, McNuggets or tiramisu. He's also going pretty hard on Khabib, saying, Khabib ran, Khabib scared, this and that, because he's saying Khabib should have stayed in the United States. He should not have left. And Khabib's story is, I left because the UFC told me the fight wouldn't happen here, and it was going to happen in Abu Dhabi, so I went to Abu Dhabi, and then they told me I couldn't leave Abu Dhabi, so then I went home to Russia, and I figured the fight's off. Tony Ferguson's story is, Khabib was scared. He didn't want to fight me, so he went home to Russia. Here's more. Let me get you a little bit more here of Tony Ferguson going really hard at Khabib, and I think he's a little bit misguided here. Listen to Tony Ferg.
Obviously, I was very upset. I feel more for everybody else that's actually going through some hard times. It's a little bit different. I'm of course, a little bit pissed. He had the opportunity to stay here, or he was in Abu Dhabi, had the chance to be able to come back before the borders were closed in Russia. Decided to go back into Dagestan. Did not finish his camp. The guy does not want to fight. He's scared. He's running. He should be stripped of his title.
He's scared, he's running, he should be stripped of his title. That's what Tony Ferguson says. AJ, you disagree?
Totally. Listen, look, there's a timeline to the coronavirus and its growth. I mean, it's not like Khabib was looking to duck this fight. That's Khabib. Khabib will fight like this for that matter. The thing is this. Ferguson, you know what? Sixth time is going to be the charm. Sixth time is the charm for him. It's going to happen. That's going to happen. But you know what? Khabib has a responsibility. He said about his family. He's absolutely right. So the timeline came to the point where all borders were closing. It's a pandemic. It's not just based on some countries. It's based worldwide. So you know what? Khabib did the right thing. He talks about family, and he's very strong about that. And he did the right thing. And I understand Ferguson. Ferguson wants a fight. I totally agree that. But you know what? For his safety as well, and his family's safety, this fight will take place at some point. But it's not going to happen now. And Khabib did the right thing. So kudos to Khabib.
Yeah, I disagree with Tony Ferguson as well. I think that he went a little bit hard on Khabib Nurmagomedov and maybe doesn't really understand the full severity of this. I mean, we showed a picture of Tony Ferguson last week training with like 4 other guys. And, you know, we're not doing jiu-jitsu right now. We're not training with anybody. We're not in the gym. All the gyms have been closed for, what, 2 or 3 weeks now? How many weeks are we into this whole thing? Is this week 3, guys?
Yeah,
this
it
is
is
week
3, man.
Look,
you know,
I think the word
Tony's still training, you know?
Looking at Khabib's focus is not on an MMA fight right now. Khabib's focus is on his family. Khabib's focus is on what's happening in the world. And unfortunately, the fight is just not #1 priority. So, again, do we want to see this fight if these guys are not having this fight as the #1 priority? Like, once Khabib and Tony Ferguson fights, I want these 2 guys to just be thinking about the fight, not to be thinking, am I going to be able to get back home? Or is my family okay? Or things like that. Like, I want them to be focused.
Yeah, that's it.
True.
We don't need this fight to be happening right now. It doesn't make any kind of sense. I don't think we need
like,
any
let's say he
MMA
wins.
fights to be happening.
You know, like, no matter who would win the fight, like, there would always be like a thought, well, maybe the other guy wasn't like fully ready. You know, maybe the other guy wasn't focused. Maybe the other guy had too much on his mind. So, like, it's not a fair thing to have the fight going on right now.
I'll tell you something. I was listening to Gilbert Burns in an interview, and he said something. He says, listen, I had the fight with Damian Maia. There was no one in the crowd. He says it was super stressful, more stressful than anything else. It's just weird. And you know what? These kind of things are also things that can affect a fighter, especially big-name fights like a Khabib Ferguson. That, to me, you know what? The fight would have never been the same if there was no crowd. I'm sorry to stop last week about that whole incident, but you know what? We need to have like the fans behind the fighters. We need to hear the boos. We need to hear the Whopper shout outs, like all this kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah, we need more ambiance for the Tony and Khabib fight to happen. I would suggest the UFC just push it to, you know, November
August.
At this point.
No.
Look, August isn't going to happen. We know this. We talked about it last week. Ramadan is happening at the end of April. Khabib is going to be off for a month. He needs a lot of time to recover and get back into shape and full training after Ramadan. We've talked about this over and over again. Khabib wouldn't be ready until, what did we say last week, Fred? October, maybe at the earliest?
Yeah, October or November would be the earliest.
I think November.
I'm still telling you August.
Look, November.
All right, let's bet some bagels.
No, it's going to happen. Khabib's next fight should be November, New York City, either at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn or at Madison Square Garden against Tony Ferguson or Conor McGregor. But that's when Khabib's next fight is going to be. November in New York City. Bank on it. I'm betting that.
No, let's.
If hopefully, I mean, you know, as Khabib would say, inshallah, that we see that fight in November because, you know, given the current situation, God willing, we see that fight come November.
Hey, listen, I'm bagel bet with you, Freddie and Dave. I'm telling you, this fight's going to take place in the summer. It's going to be the biggest combat pay-per-view ever. It's happening in August. It could either be against Ferguson or it could be against Conor.
Again.
But Khabib is fighting. Hey, let's bet. Are we in? I'm in, man.
Yeah,
That's how confident I am.
Yeah, there's a bet.
Shake
Let's
on.
shake. Let me get it. Can you see my hat?
Yeah, you're going to owe
Where am I? Where's the stupid
Fred
camera?
and I each a dozen bagels each. And, of course, we will disinfect the bag thoroughly before we get it because that's what we do now.
And don't lick the cream cheese like those guys I saw on
what?
YouTube. Licking ice cream containers and all this stupidity. Licking door handles, car handles.
News out of Japan.
What's going on?
Ryzen FC, due to this whole COVID-19 crisis, they have canceled all their events until July at least. But they are hoping to hold a big event at the Tokyo Dome, which could have over 60,000 people. So they're trying to do a big MMA show, Ryzen FC, as a big comeback show. And I think that'd be a good idea for the UFC to do as well. Take some time off and then come back at a stadium show with a super card. But at this point, guys, when's the next time you're going to feel comfortable in a stadium with 60,000 other people?
Good point, Dave. How about
Fred?
not even in a stadium? How about in a metro or a bus or something like that?
Well,
I mean, my
I've seen
life's
people
good,
in
man.
buses. I don't take the Metro anymore. I used to take the Metro all the time. I don't take the Metro anymore. I drive myself everywhere now. It's scary.
Hey, listen, I'm stressed when the guy from Amazon comes and drops me a box. That's just one-on-one. I got my gloves on. I got my mask on. And if the guy gets within 2 meters, I guess I'm going to have to take him down. But you know what? I mean,
because that's going to help for the corona.
Yeah, then you get even
I know,
closer.
Freddie. I know, Freddie. But if he gets too close, man, it's I'm going to give him the Anderson Silva or what's that guy, the actor who was claiming that.
Mace.
You start putting a choke on him, and then he's going to start coughing on you. You're going to be in big trouble.
No, I was trying to think of Steven Seagal that claimed that he was the guy that taught Anderson Silva the kick, the up kick, the belt for.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a short commercial pause here for the radio side of this program. This is Ringside Report. We are talking MMA with you each and every week. We are not leaving you through the crisis. This thing will get better. We will persevere, and we will stay with you. We're going to be with you guys each and every week. Ringside Report will not die, and neither will you. All right? We're going to take a short pause here. Stay with us. More MMA on the other side. Jon Jones pleads guilty. What happens to Jon Jones? Is he going to jail?
Hashtag.
Is he
criminal.
going to jail? He's not going to jail. Spoiler alert.
He should be.
He's not going to. We'll talk about that in a minute, guys. I have to read a commercial.
God bless America.
God bless America. Stand beside her and guide her. From the mountains to the prairies to the ocean.
Why can't you sing the Star Spangled
White with foam.
God bless America.
USA, USA.
Oh, sweet home.
All that because of Jon Jones, man.
Oh, I don't know what happened there.
That's for Hogan, man. Hulkster in the house. Hey, Dave, why don't you tell people what you're wearing there? A Jiu-Jitsu Classic. It's a Eddie Bravo special.
Yeah, I decided to wear a gi top. I was looking for I was wearing the same hoodie I was wearing last week on the show, and I didn't want to have the same hoodie as I wore last week. So I took my hoodie off, and I was just wearing a shirt. I was like, oh, let me put some on. And I saw my gi top. I was like, yeah, I'll put this on. Dress up like AJ. And also, I just missed jiu-jitsu so bad. It's just kind of a shout-out to everybody doing jiu-jitsu. I saw Glenn was watching us, Glenn McKenzie. I hope everything's going okay for his gym. His gym is closed now.
He's accusing AJ of being the epicenter of the disease in Montreal. I think he might be right.
AJ's the epicenter of nonsense, but I don't know about coronavirus. You did cough, though, AJ, at one point. And now AJ's totally frozen. Hey, Fred, what happened to AJ? Look at him.
I'm not sure.
He's frozen in laughter. Do you see that?
That's the perfect shot.
That's crazy.
AJ's on dial-up.
Yeah, AJ's internet is the worst. AJ just froze out. Uh-oh.
Oh, he's back.
I think he's back, but we can't hear him. Hey, AJ.
What? Can you hear me?
Yeah, you totally froze out there for a second. It was great. It was just me and Fred for a while. It was exactly how the show should be.
That's Glenn with his hacker team for sure. I know that.
Yeah, Glenn just hacked you. I see Johnny North. Johnny North is on the chat. Woods MMA is on the chat. Tanya DeLesio is on the chat. Hi, Tanya. Daniel Winston, my main man. Acme Tunes is on the chat. Samara Cullen. D. Skeet. Hey, that's Dwayne. Hey, Dwayne.
Dwayne in the house.
Samara says hi. Hi, Samara.
Samara, Tanya, my sister. Yes.
Tanya, AJ's sister. Mike B. Mike B says, do you think Tony would beat and badly slice up Conor? Yes.
I don't think so.
I think Tony beats McGregor if they fight.
No, I don't think so.
Come on, boy. Really?
listen, I'm not changing my picks. I'm not a flip-flopper like you, Dave. I'm sticking with Conor beating Ferguson.
I'm sticking with Tony beating everybody.
The only thing he's going to beat is maybe the cable that he tripped on for the second time. That's not happening. He could even beat a cable.
I think, what was it? Like, I saw Tony Ferguson, a video of him training, and I think he's, like, hitting weights or something. Like, anyways, Tony Ferguson has some weird training habits.
Yeah, what was it? It was his Kung Fu Panda workout.
I'm not sure. I forgot. I'll try to find it.
What is it? Kung Fu Panda. All right, let me read a commercial here. I'm disappearing you guys for a second.
Ahead.
How about that? Boom, you're gone. I'm reading a commercial for IP Vanish, so I don't need my friends over there. They can't hear you guys right now because I'm reading the commercial. All right, AJ, I'm getting rid of you during the commercial, so you can't disrupt my commercial. You understand me, AJ? You hear me?
I want to disturb it.
Nope, you're gone. IP Vanish. These days, security on the internet is a big concern. Identity theft, fraud, privacy, major preoccupation, and hackers are at home too with time on their hands, and they've got nothing better to do than to try and attack you. So these hackers, they're right now not so busy, and they're coming after you. There are hackers who spend their days there lurking to find someone they can attack. They can access all of your stored information, passwords, credit cards, etc. Keep them out with IP Vanish. You need a VPN. IP Vanish is now 73% off until the end of April. Instead of $143.88 for a year, pay just $39 for the first year. That's a ridiculous discount. Anybody tells me something is 73% off, I'm buying it. I don't care what it is. 73% off is a good deal. With this offer, IP Vanish is throwing in 250 gigs of secure cloud storage, which is fantastic. You need to have your files secured safely, all right? You need your – I know AJ has all sorts of weird stuff. He's got all sorts of weird porno videos that he's got on his computer and stuff, and he's got to keep that safe. So he's got a VPN. He's got IP Vanish. You can back up all of your important data to the cloud at no extra charge. This is an outstanding deal for the Ringside Report universe. Now, we need you to stay healthy and secure. That's why we recommend what we use, which is IP Vanish. You go to vpn.ringsidereport.net, vpn.ringsidereport.net. You sign up for a subscription that will include a 7-day money-back guarantee using our link, and we will receive a small commission that will help us produce more content and keep paying for this fancy technology that we are using to make this very show. Remember to use the link and let IP Vanish know that we sent you, vpn.ringsidereport.net. I mean, this is how we pay for all this fancy technology that we have going here.
What are you talking about porn, man? My mother might be listening.
Oh, well, I mean, she knows that you record illicit videos on your phone. I mean, not with anybody in particular, mostly just of yourself. You're just taking pictures of yourself because you're bored. I know how bored you are, AJ. I've heard your beats.
Hey, listen, man, most people don't know what we're going to be talking about, but I challenged Dave to the beat challenge. So me and my little guy made a beat, which I thought was awesome. It definitely is way better than Drake's, guaranteed. And I'm going to tell you, I challenged Dave, so we have a beat challenge. We might put it on air just to see who wins.
I want to see.
I'm going to hurt both your feelings.
Yeah,
what?
I'm going to hurt both your feelings saying I didn't even listen to.
Oh, why
Come
not?
on, Freddie. Come on, you got to listen.
So, AJ.
Fred, you got to be the judge.
So, we have a group
chat.
I got to explain what we're talking about. We have a group chat, okay? And AJ sends all sorts of weird stuff. And then AJ the other day started sending, like, beats. And I was like, how are you making these beats? Like, what is going on here? Where did you learn to make beats? And he sends me this app where he's making beats. And now I started making beats because the app is like a lot of fun and I have time to kill. So I've been playing some of these beats as well, and I've been making beats. And I think I could probably play. We could play these beats because these are our beats that we made, right?
Which
We're
one?
allowed to play them.
Mine?
Hold on. Let's see if I can get one of yours here.
Hey, put up my album cover that I made.
Can I put up your album cover?
Sure, why not, man? It's classic. It's like old style Beastie Boys with a punch to the eye.
Okay, here's AJ's album cover. Boom.
Baby punch. Out.
Central Coast
Punching
crew.
me.
The Central Coast crew. I like that. That's my favorite part.
He punched
Triple
me in
C.
the eye.
I like that. Now let's see. I think we could play some of AJ's beats here. Like legitimately, I think we can do this. Hold on.
Hey man, Drake, don't steal my shit now.
Are you hearing this?
Yep. Unfortunately.
Yeah,
It
this
gets
is
better.
AJ's music.
Soul Brothers, AJ,
You put your own voice track over this?
Mix. Shout out to my homeboys, Dave Simon, Fred Garcia, Johnny North, the Big North. Ringside
That's
Report,
awful.
.net.
Yeah, that is terrible. That's really
What are you
bad.
talking about? That's classic.
No,
Guys,
that's bad.
man, you don't
Hold-
understand.
Can,
I bet you Glenn likes it. He's
can
an
I
80s
play one?
guy. I know
Can
that.
I play one that I made with my son? I'll play you almost nap time. Okay? We made this one together. Mine's better. Beat battle.
Whoa. What the hell? What is it? Disney World?
I'm not sure it's relaxing.
Jon Jones.
Yeah, so this is just pressing buttons. Like a 2-year-old made this. Just so you know, he's almost 3. Like a 2.5-year-old made this beat. So it's not.
So you're
that
saying
hard.
a 3-year-old made a better beat than AJ?
Yes, that's
What are
what,
you
I'm
talking
saying.
about? Mine's classic.
Yeah, but
Mine's Beastie Boys, old
my-
school, man. Master mix.
my son, half asleep, made a better beat than you.
Dave, that's your perspective, but maybe people find mine was like a little bit more. I put in like the homies, Central Coast, Johnny North.
We win the beat battle.
Wes, I know who would agree with you. Jon Jones. I bet you was listening to this.
All right. That's enough of that. Let's get back to the MMA.
I'll tell you what, Dave. Jon Jones would have loved
Johnny.
that tune.
Huh?
I mean, I could see myself like driving with a gun and a bottle of liquor twice over
Yeah,
the
messed
limit,
up.
like listening to this beat
Yeah, see?
Bravo, Freddie.
and
Bravo,
shooting the gun,
Freddie.
of course.
Yeah, see? My
And
son is
homeless
making
people.
some killer beats. Killer beats. Johnny North says he's the next Dr. Dre.
Hey, what about Central Coast Crew? Johnny, I mentioned your name in there. Central Coast.
All right,
What's up
guys.
with that, dog?
Let's get back into
Snoop
the
Dogg
action.
has nothing on me.
AJ,
Snoop
shut
Dogg
up.
don't have nothing.
AJ, stop talking so much. We're getting back into it, all right? You ready?
Central Coast.
Yeah.
All right. All right, welcome back. It is Ringside Report. I am Dave Simon. Fred Garcia is here. AJ DeLesio is here. Well, they're not here with me. They are live via satellite, the technology of Ringside Report. We've got my
Yeah, I
main
wouldn't want to
man-
get a crazy fine.
What do you mean? A crazy? Oh,
$6,000.
Oh, yeah, for congregating. My main man, Fred Garcia, right over there. My main man, AJ DeLesio, right over
this way.
there. Giving you guys the old NWO point because you guys are too sweet. And we are the NWO of, I don't know, MMA radio or something? I don't know.
That's right, man.
Guess so.
Can I be the,
Old
am I
school.
Hulk Hogan?
Yeah, you could be Hogan.
So I'm.
And what
Nick
would I
Terry.
be?
I think you're Scott Hall.
Who the hell's that?
Razor
Give me a
Ramon,
good
man.
name.
See, you don't know
Razor
anybody.
Ramon. Let
You
me get
don't-
my toothpick. I know.
Yeah, the guy
I got
you
him
thought was
mistaken
Roman
last time.
Reigns. Yeah, you thought Razor
Yeah.
Ramon and Roman Reigns were the same guy. Yeah.
I thought they were brothers.
Hey, by the way, we're going to be doing a WrestleMania watch-along, 2 nights of WrestleMania this weekend coming up on the YouTube channel. Be sure to check that out, like and subscribe to the channel. And we're going to be on YouTube this weekend. It's going to be a wild watch-along for WrestleMania. I am going to have special guests. I'm going to be in the Ringside Report Network official studios, and I'm going to have all sorts of guests on the show. Already confirmed for the show, Johnny North, of course. Johnny North.
I think you were going to say Jon Jones.
My brother, okay, frequent co-host of the watch-alongs. My brother's going to be on the show. AJ DeLesio. And Fred Garcia. And Fred Garcia.
Freddie?
All those guys will be on the Ringside Report official YouTube watch-along of WrestleMania this weekend on Saturday and Sunday nights. And not only will those people be on, my brother, Johnny North, AJ, Fred, the whole Ringside Report crew, we will also have special guests that I have in the works. Special guests that I have in the works. And if you're watching this show, you may see a little bit of a tease on who I'm talking about.
Is that the Green Phantom?
Take it easy, AJ. He might be joining us. We have certain people that we're talking to that are in the works, possibly Green Phantom, possibly other people. We have special guests that will be joining us via satellite because we have to keep doing this social distancing. Usually we'd have a big WrestleMania party and we'd have a lot of fun and it would be great.
Poker.
But, we can't do that because we have to stay away. So I'm going to be watching WrestleMania with all of you guys via video. I'll see you guys. You'll see us. We'll talk to each other that way, and we'll have a good time. So we're still going to have fun. We're going to make it even better, even bigger, because now, we have limited space, I guess, in the studio as far as human beings, how many people we can fit in here. But now with the power of video and everything and getting you guys via satellite, we can have, 10, 20 people on the watch-along. So we're going to even have some of the Wrestling Uncensored universe as well. It's going to be a rotating cast throughout the weekend. If you want to be on the show, hit me up at Dave Simon MMA on Twitter, and we can see what we can do. If you're one of the regulars, if you're an old-school Wrestling Uncensored listener, or even if you're one of the new listeners and new subscribers to the channel, hit me up at Dave Simon MMA if you want to be on the WrestleMania watch-along. We'll see if we can slot you in for a match or two, okay?
Bravo, Dave. And if you want to call David, it's 514.
Hey, take it easy. Take it easy. AJ, always trying to do that. Always trying to give out my phone number to everybody.
For a good time, call Dave. 514.
Okay. Guys, I want to wrap up on Khabib Nurmagomedov before we get to Jon Jones. I just want to see, read you Khabib's statement. Check out Khabib here for a second. Tell you what he thinks about the fight. This is Khabib's latest statement on Instagram. And here, I think you guys can see that here. So this is Khabib Nurmagomedov and what he's saying. Staying home in quarantine and reading the reaction of people to the situation around my fight. It turns out that the whole world should be in quarantine. Governments of all countries, famous people around the world urge people to follow all safety requirements in order to limit the spread of the disease. To save people. And Khabib is the only one. I like how Khabib speaks about himself in third person. And Khabib is the only one relieved of all obligations and must demonstrate free will and train flying around the world for the sake of fight? For the sake of fight! I understand. I understand everything, and I'm definitely upset more than you to cancel the fight. Probably like all others, I had many plans after the fight, but I can't control it all. The greatest countries and the largest companies of our time are shocked by what is happening. Every day the situation changes unpredictably, but Khabib still has to fight? Is that what you're saying? I like that Khabib's accent still shines through on his English translation. But Khabib still has to fight? Is that what you're saying? Take care of yourself and put yourself in my shoes. Another line that I like there from Khabib. I'm definitely more upset than you to cancel the fight. Probably like all others, I had many plans after the fight, but I can't control it all. What do you mean probably you had plans after the fight? Well, you either had plans or you didn't have plans after the fight. Not probably I had plans. Anyways, that's besides the point. That's just Khabib's thoughts, and he's basically saying, we understand what he's saying here. Hey, you guys expect me to fight? You guys expect me to show up and fight? That's not fair. The whole world is shut down. You expect me to fly from Russia to the United States and back and forth, and I might not be able to re-enter my country or leave the United States? I'm with Khabib on this, and I fully understand why he's staying home.
Completely agree with Khabib, but what I find cooler is that it seems like he's his own publicist. So, like, I'm down for that, for guys like speaking from the heart. And look, that's how he feels, and nobody could blame him. Of course, guys like Conor McGregor and Tony Ferguson, they're gonna try to use this opportunity to attack him. But the fans that are gonna attack Khabib should just be like, ignored him. Like, they're not even worth his time.
Yeah, Conor said some things about Khabib too, right? Isn't Conor like saying Khabib pulled out and he ran scared as well?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but it's kind of surprising because I'm kind of surprised that Conor would be making that statement after a couple of days passed. I think in our last show we posted the Conor speech about how it's important to stay home and stay home. So I'm not sure. I think
Well,
I think Conor might have.
So which one of these two tweets was written by Conor? The one where he's attacking Khabib, or the one where he's telling everybody to stay home? Because I would say the one where he's telling everybody to stay home is probably a publicist or somebody. But
no,
but
I don't want.
Well, now what about Khabib Nurmagomedov leaving the United States when he was supposedly told that this fight was going to happen in the United Arab Emirates, when no one else was told this fight was going to happen in the United Arab Emirates, and no one else took a flight to the United Arab Emirates to go and prepare for this fight? Like, Tony Ferguson remained in the United States. There's an argument to be made on the Tony and Conor side, if you want to take that argument, that, well, why did Khabib leave the United States? Khabib saying, well, the UFC told me the fight wouldn't happen here, but he's the only one that really left the country. I don't know. There's something there, maybe, but
look at
I believe Khabib's story. Like Conor and Tony don't believe Khabib's official story, which is the UFC told me this fight wasn't going to happen here. It was going to happen to Abu Dhabi. I went to Abu Dhabi. They said I might be able to enter, but I won't be able to leave because things are getting crazy. So I said, well, forget that. I'm just going to go home to Russia and figure things out when I get home. You know, Tony saying, well, you should have come back to the United States. And, you know, Khabib comes back to the U.S. He doesn't know if he's ever going to be able to leave the U.S. I mean, he knows he will eventually, but who knows when? It could be months, you know? So I fully understand Khabib Nurmagomedov just saying, look, I'm going to go home and deal with this first and foremost. And I think really shame on Tony Ferguson, and more shame on Conor McGregor for attacking Khabib, because Conor clearly grasps the gravity of the situation. We played what he said to his people. They wanted full lockdown and everything. Like, Conor gets how serious this is, and he's still talking trash to Khabib under all this. But I guess, you know, that's Conor trying to sell the fight and trying to get Khabib to accept that fight at some point down the road. I think it's all promotion, but man, I don't know if this is the time.
I'm gonna be a cynic. I'm gonna be a cynic and keep on saying that original statement from Conor was probably written by somebody else, and the one where he's attacking Khabib, that's the true Conor that everybody knows. So
no,
look,
Freddie,
I'm not gonna blame Khabib, even if Khabib used this as a way to can't get this fight canceled. I'm not going to blame him, because with the current climate, like, his focus is not on the fight. Whatever his reason is, completely understand Khabib wanting to be with his family. If I were like in the middle of another country right now, the only thing on my mind would be like, how do I get back to my family? So, like, people that are going to blame Khabib, so be it. Like, these people are short-sighted in my opinion.
Freddie, you know what?
I agree 100%.
Freddie, I totally agree with you. And you know what? It's so much easier to say, like you said, Ferguson is in the United States, Conor is in Ireland, and Khabib is like in transient. So the thing is that you're absolutely right. He wanted to be with his family. He did the right decision. And you know what? Between the big names, they knew that this fight is probably not going to happen. It was probably 99.9% sure that it wouldn't take place. Not to what Dana was saying, but let's be honest. Unless it's on a battleship, this fight is not taking place.
Yeah, I don't think this fight is taking place, and I like the Yoda with the Khabib hat behind you, AJ, on your makeshift set that you have there going for you. Pretty nice.
Khabib!
Pretty nice. All right, guys, let's get to Jon Jones and what's going on here. So last week we told you about all the charges he was facing. He was found intoxicated, driving with a gun. There were reports that a gun had been fired in the area. This week, he pleads guilty to DWI. Somehow, all the charges were dropped other than the DWI. He got some sort of plea deal where he was only charged with DWI, pleads guilty, gets 96 consecutive hours in a county community custody program, which is kind of like it's house arrest, basically, 96 hours house arrest. So he has to stay home for 96 hours like
Good luck.
everybody else right now. Like, that's not punishment. We're all under house arrest at this point, dude. Also, Jon Jones must complete 48 hours of community service and pay a $500 fine, which is a joke, and then take part in a 90-day outpatient treatment program, so some sort of help. And Jon Jones also released a statement where he says the following: while we all work to understand and cope with stress and uncertainties surrounding the current state of our world, I want to express how truly disappointed I am that I've become the source of a negative headline again, especially during these trying times. I'm disappointed for letting down the people I care about the most, my family, friends, and my fans. This morning, I entered into a plea deal with the Albuquerque DA's office. I accept full responsibility for my actions, and I know that I have some personal work to do, which involves the unhealthy relationship I have with alcohol. So that's something we talked about last week. This guy clearly has a problem with alcohol, and he is admitting it, which is the first step to getting better. So, as many times this guy screws up, I do want him to get help, and I want him to get better, and I want him to be a fully functioning member of society and also a fully functioning world champion, because that happens to be his given profession. He's a great fighter. You want to see him be a great fighter. The UFC is going to allow him to continue to fight in that octagon. We know what the UFC does. As long as you've dealt with your problems with the law, as long as it's settled, as soon as Jon Jones' house arrest deal and his community service is done, and he does that 90-day outpatient rehab program, as soon as that's all settled, the UFC will allow him to fight again. And I wonder, will this cycle just repeat itself? Like, I hope it doesn't. I want Jon Jones to get help. I want Jon Jones to be better. But given the track record, you can only imagine where this thing goes from here. And, again, he avoids jail time, which I was surprised. This is like his fourth arrest. It's a little crazy at this point. But, hey, he's not doing any jail time. Seems like another slap on the wrist for Bones Jones, and he'll probably continue to be the guy that he always has been, which is disappointing. I hope it's not true.
I'm not a psychologist, but every time he gets in trouble, Jon Jones always doing the right thing. Like, every time he's in trouble, he always comes back and says, "I'm going to take control of my life. I'm going to make the right decisions," and he never ends up doing the right decision. So, unfortunately, I'm in the camp that doubt again that he's going to be able to control his life and not let it derail. But at the same time, every time that he comes up with his little speech about it, Jon Jones shows me that this guy has brains. He's not dumb. He's a very intelligent person, and unfortunately, he probably has some issues, whether it's alcohol, drugs, or whatever. But there's issues because he's not like somebody that's without intellect. He's able to realize his decisions. So, unfortunately, I'm going to be in the camp right now that's going to doubt, but hopefully he gets his life in order.
Now, Jon Jones, there's always this lack of responsibility with him. Now, I read you the first part of the statement that he's very disappointed, and he's a negative headline, and he admits to having an unhealthy relationship with alcohol. Now he continues, and this is where it's like the same old Jon Jones not taking responsibility for his screw-ups. He goes, "I have dedicated so much time and energy to improve my community, And I will not allow this personal setback to hinder my work within the community when we need it the most. I truly appreciate all the support I have received from the community of Albuquerque and all my fans around the world. I very much look forward to putting this behind me. Thank you all for your continued love and support, and please take care of yourselves. Like, what? Jon Jones, seriously? That's your statement? I want to put this behind me. This is a
I'm sure
personal setback. I don't want this to hinder my work with the community because I do so much good, and the good people of Albuquerque need me at this time. This is when they need Jon Jones, their hero, the most, and I don't want this nonsense like me getting arrested to slow down all the good work that I do. This is Jon Jones thinking, well, you know, they shouldn't have arrested me. I just had a couple of drinks. Yeah, I was shooting my gun off. This is America. I have a gun. I wasn't being irresponsible. I'm Jon Jones. I can do whatever I want. And this is why he is who he is, and this is why he keeps getting in trouble. He thinks he's above the law, and every time the law catches up with him, it's nothing. And he moves on like nothing ever happened. Classic Jon Jones. It will continue. It will get worse. Something bad is going to happen.
Dave, did you actually see the video of the body cam and whatnot? I mean, you know, the guy, it was really, really sad. I mean, he was making like comments about like talking to two homeless guys, and it was part of his community outreach when we were supposed to be under social distancing and whatnot. He's like at 2 a.m. with mezcal in the back of his seat, half drunk, half drinking, or drunk, however you call it.
Twice the limit.
Yeah.
Twice the limit.
Twice over the
and gunshots with a handgun. I mean, you know, the problem with Jones is that it's lucky that there's a coronavirus, because right now his 96 hours of community work basically is doing it through video conference. So he doesn't even have to go out in the community, and he won't get suspended by the UFC and whatnot, because by the time this is all said and done, Jones is going to have another fight. And we'll probably see Jones fighting sometime in November, and everybody's going to forget about it. But I agree with Freddie. If and yourself, Dave, if he doesn't get the treatment, and I mean, Daniel Cormier said it as well. He wasn't happy about this whole thing about Jones again. The boy needs help. And you know what? He's 32 years old. He's not a boy like Cormier said. He needs help. You know, he has a problem with alcohol. When you're driving at 2 a.m. in Albuquerque, you know, shooting off your gun, you never know.
Let's remember what Cormier used to say. Cormier used to say, this is who he is. So unfortunately, I think, you know, this is who Jon Jones is. At some point, he's going to have to admit that to himself, that this is who he is.
Yeah, and I don't know if even admitting it to himself will even stop the problem at this point. This is who he is, and it's just unavoidable. It's clear. I mean, this is a pattern of behavior with Jon Jones, and maybe eventually he'll figure it out, but I don't see him figuring it out anytime soon just based on what he says. Like, this guy is like so absorbed with himself being this important guy that he can't figure out, like, he's got major problems. As long as he continues to be successful, as long as he has success in his career as an MMA fighter, this behavior will continue. It will stop.
Yeah, but Dave,
it will stop when he hits a rock bottom, and I don't know where that rock bottom will be.
Listen, but why should that be? Like, honestly speaking, I mean, you know, Mike Tyson went through it. I mean, when he was with D'Amato, he had a good circle. He went to prison, but he was never the same. But what I'm trying to say here is this: we've seen a lot of athletes that have gone down this path. Jon Jones, to me, I would be questioning the UFC brass. I would be questioning his promoters and his agent, everybody that's involved with his legal side. Somebody should be sitting down with this guy and like really taking him step by step to get help. You know, his circle of people that he's around are all yes men, and I know that for a fact because, you know, in his camp, whatever Jones says, they do. And the problem is that they're not being truthful to Jones. And, you know, I bash Jones a lot, but the truth is his circle of people are not being truthful to him. He needs to be taken, put into a rehab, and he needs to be documented. People have to see that this guy's taking the steps, and he needs to be doing the proper steps, because right now his next step is going to be either in jail or he's going to be 6 feet under. And I don't want to see that on Jon Jones, because it's really unfair in a sense, because the guy has so much talent, but he doesn't have the right people around him. Amen.
When
Dr.
it comes
Phil.
to addiction, when it comes to addiction, I think the first person that needs to help yourself is yourself. Like, if you don't admit that you have a problem, you're never gonna beat that addiction. Everybody could tell Jon Jones you're going off on the wrong road. You're gonna make some very bad mistakes. Until he's able to admit it to himself, unfortunately, I don't think it's gonna change.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%,
Like,
Fred.
everybody's been telling, it's been for years. People like Jon Jones reads these stories. Like, these stories have to go to his ear at some point. It's about him making the right decision.
Yeah, I
You're
agree
right.
with you
You're right,
100%.
Freddie. You're right, and I still think there's that other side where his circle is not being truthful with him.
Mm-hmm.
He needs to be taken
Look,
and
he
really
probably has some bad
put through the
people around
steps.
him.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah,
There's no doubt about it.
Look, it's not really about the people around him. It's not about, I mean, it might not help. Maybe he has some bad influences. Who knows? But it really is up to Jon Jones to make a change here in his life. It doesn't seem like he's making any kind of these changes. I thought that this one, like the gun, the drunkenness, all that stuff, I thought, okay, this might be the one where they put him 90 days in jail. And I thought 90 days in jail might scare him straight, might fix him. But, hey, that's not what's going to happen here. He's going to get another slap on the wrist, and he's going to move right along, continuing to do this stuff. I mean, there was that infraction there in a strip club where somebody said he assaulted them. A waitress was saying that he was, a little too handsy there with her, doing some being a little bit rough there.
Yeah,
there was a lot of weird stuff going on with Jon Jones. We've heard all sorts of stories, not just the ones that are out there in the media, but other stories about Jon Jones and how he lives and how he likes to party. And look, man, the guy obviously has some issues. He's admitted to doing cocaine on numerous occasions, to liking it, smoking a lot of weed, drinking a lot, drinking and driving. There's nothing wrong with smoking weed. There's nothing wrong with drinking. There's nothing wrong necessarily. Well, I don't know. I'm not going to say the other thing because I'm not sure if that's legal. I don't know if I could say that. But let's just say, everything in moderation, as long as you're not putting anybody else at risk. My problem with Jon Jones is he goes out there and he puts people at risk when he gets behind the wheel, and that's really the main beef I have with Jon Jones is that, look, he can do whatever he wants to himself. He can drink to excess. He can shoot off his gun. Just don't shoot off your gun when you're drinking to excess, when you're behind the wheel. Don't get behind the wheel when you're drinking too much or when you're drinking at all. And how about maybe you don't bring your gun with you when you're drinking and driving around? That's also, that seems like a no-brainer, but I don't know. Jon Jones sometimes acts like he's got no brain, so I don't really understand what's happening with Johnny Bones Jones. He's one of the greatest fighters I've ever seen, but, man, he's a disappointment. He's just a real disappointment, and, the reason I'm not calling him the greatest fighter of all time is because he's a screw-up. That's why, because he's a total screw-up of a man. He's a complete mess. He's got all the physical attributes, all the gifts, all the natural talent, and he just screwed it up. He could have done way more with what he has, but he's just he's a screw-up, plain and simple.
Dave, I was going to say, if Jones wants to get a good example of what a UFC fighter screws up by drinking and driving, just take a look at Desmond Green. Desmond Green right now is in jail for I don't know how long because of manslaughter, because he was drinking under the influence, and he killed, I think it was 2 or 3 people. And you know what? He fought Charles Jourdain, which was maybe 8 months ago or something like that, and he didn't get charged yet. But right now, as we speak, Desmond Green is in jail. Why? Because he was under the influence. And you know what? That could have happened to Jones on the Albuquerque Road at 2 a.m. in the morning. And that's it. There's no turning back, no statements, no nothing. You're gone, buddy. And that's the thing. So if Jones wants to get an example, take a look at Desmond Green.
Yeah, he got lucky that he didn't hurt anybody. Really, he really did. So I hope that Jon Jones figures it out, but I am very skeptical. I'll continue to pick him to win fights, though, because he's still a very good fighter. Like, I know, AJ, next time you're going to be like, oh, Jon Jones drinking and driving, da-da-da, he's not going to win. But, he's still really good at fighting. That's the problem with Jon Jones. If he wasn't this good, we'd be rid of him and we'd never hear from him again and no one would care. The problem is he's one of the greatest fighters of all time, and that's really weird when we're talking about a guy when you're saying the problem is he's really, really good in the UFC. It's a
but
problem.
he's not becoming a good role model. And I think
No.
between myself and you, I think Dana White has to step in at this point.
And do
You know,
what?
whatever it takes. I don't know what it does.
He's
What
not
would
going
it
to
take?
fire
I mean,
him. What would it take?
He's not
Yeah,
gonna
because
fire
he won't fire him.
You know what? You don't let him fight till he goes through a proper rehab channel, and he actually does every step, and it's documented that I believe that he did step 2 and 3 and 4 and so forth. We got to see it, and it's up to Dana White right now to put his foot down because he is his money. He's the money guy, and if Dana is going to give him money, it has to be with just cause. He has to
That's
have
the
a
thing.
reason to keep
That's
making
That's
it
the
that
thing you
fight.
don't
That's
understand.
ridiculous.
Dana doesn't give him money. Jon Jones brings money to the UFC. So as long as Jon Jones brings money to the UFC, Dana White is going to make him fight.
Exactly.
Yeah, but what
and
happened-
Jon Jones
but
will
what
no,
happened-
AJ,
No,
that's
no, no, no,
ridiculous.
no, no,
Jon
no,
Jones
no.
will
No,
continue to
that's
fight.
wrong.
Dana White will do absolutely nothing. Let me tell you what happens
No.
when your job wants you to go to rehab. Let me tell you exactly what happens. They tell you, we need you to go to rehab. If you say yes, you can keep your job. If you say no, we can't do business with you and we have to let you go. If the UFC presents that scenario to Jon Jones, they are bluffing. They're completely bluffing because they're never going to let him go. They say, John, go to rehab. No. Well, we have to fire you if you say no. Fire me then. I double dare you. I'll go to Bellator and make tons of money anyways, and everybody knows who the real world champion is. So your scenario of forcing Jon Jones to go to rehab is silly, and it's fantasy. The UFC will never do that. They will never sanction Jon Jones. The only reason they ever sanction any of their fighters when they get into trouble outside of the octagon is when they still have a court case pending. As soon as the case is settled, as soon as the guy does his time for the crime, they're allowed back into the octagon, and the same will be done for Jon Jones, especially Jon Jones, because he's so important to the machine that is the UFC because he makes so much money. The UFC cannot force him to go into rehab. No company can force any employee to ever go into rehab, AJ. And this is, again something you just don't understand, and that's okay.
No. And I'm going to tell you why. I'm going to tell you because the next time he does something where he commits a crime that he can't get out of, like manslaughter or whatever, it's done for the UFC. It's done for Jon Jones. And here I am holding a paper.
It's not done for the UFC. It's done for Jon Jones.
Well, it's the UFC at that point. Are they going to put themselves in a point where Jon Jones is going to go beyond?
Of course not.
You think the
Like
UFC
Midnight
can never
Driving?
recover from
Listen.
that? Do you think that the UFC can never recover from that?
They'll recover from it. And in fact, here in my hands, when I was talking to you guys before the show started, I have here 16 fighters that are either banned for life from the UFC or suspended.
Okay, AJ, please stop.
16 fighters.
Please stop, AJ.
16 fighters.
Fred, go ahead.
AJ, please
Fred,
stop
go ahead.
because
I just got
I
rid
want
of
to
AJ.
go. AJ, you yourself was saying that Jon Jones is gonna go into rehab, which is ridiculous. The UFC cannot force him to go to rehab. So in the end, it's all about him making the decision by himself to take control of his life. The UFC, they're gonna make money off of him, but they're not gonna let an asset go away. Like, you gotta be logic on this. Like, they're gonna keep the asset for sure.
That's right. He's
I agree with you.
10% right once again, AJ.
Listen. I agree with you. They need to keep the asset, but if the asset ends up going to jail, it's all done. And Mike Tyson was a good example of that.
Okay, but
what
you
I'm
just
saying
said
is
for
that,
Desmond
but
Green.
the company, Desmond Green.
What about Desmond Green? You said
that,
Desmond Green fought after hitting some people, didn't he?
He did.
Yeah.
Didn't he
But he
fight
was
in the
still-
UFC after hitting?
Yeah. The UFC
But he
didn't
didn't go
know
to,
about it,
he
though.
didn't go
The
to
UFC
court.
didn't know.
They didn't know about it.
Well, exactly. They
didn't know
waited
about
for
it.
him to be in jail, which is the same thing with
Well, they
Jon
had no
Jones. They're going
choice.
to wait for him to be in jail for a long time before they fire him.
Look,
That's
he's
right.
too, like you said he's a big name. He's a big factor for the UFC, and I think it's a responsibility of the company, just like any company, is to make sure that their employees are in their the best health, and that goes for the UFC to look into this situation and to take some action, because right now this is the 6th time that Jones has been stopped for some kind of crazy. I know, guys, but you know what?
Listen,
Look,
Jimmy Uso.
they need to do something.
Jimmy Uso in the WWE, one half of the Usos, has had like 2 DUIs. WWE hasn't done anything. No suspension, no firing, no nothing. And he's just one half of the Usos. He's not Jon Jones, okay? It's not. This isn't how these things work, man. The company doesn't fire you for things like that. You got to deal with the law, and your job isn't going to fire you. The UFC would leave them up for all sorts of lawsuits, and they can't force him to do anything. The UFC has no hand in this game. They have no hand in this play, AJ. You don't understand.
Look, I'm not saying that they have to fire him. What I'm saying is the first step is to work with him and get him the treatment that he needs. I'm not saying to fire him. If he refuses, then you know what?
Exactly. What happens if we go with the hard line? Jon Jones, you're not fighting until you go to rehab. What happens next? Jon Jones gets a lawyer and gets out of his contract. That's what happens.
Yep. So what? Be it. Where's he going to go to Bellator? Like we saw a lot of guys going to Bellator, and they don't look. We saw Mighty Mouse and all the rest that were huge names. But it doesn't matter. What it comes down to is it's a responsibility. That's what I'm saying.
Matter.
I'm just saying it. I'm saying
okay.
No, I'm not.
All right.
I'm saying take care of your fighters.
Let's move on. Quickly, guys, because we are overtime here. I just wanted to tell you about Valentina Shevchenko. She's got a leg injury, and she is out of her UFC 251 title defense on June 6th with Joanne Calderwood. It was supposed to take place June 6th in Perth, Australia, UFC 251. At this place, though, who knows about June 6th in UFC 251? No one knows, but that title fight is not happening. Valentina has an injury. And very quickly here, guys, who is lying, Kamaru Usman or George Masvidal? Kamaru Usman says the UFC offered George Masvidal a fight with me for UFC 249 on April 18th to replace the Tony Khabib main event. Kamaru says George Masvidal was offered this fight. He turned it down. He doesn't want to fight me. George Masvidal says that's not true. The UFC offered Kamaru Usman a fight with me, and he turned it down. So who's lying? Who's lying? They're both saying the same thing about each other.
Well, I think right now if we're picking, it's probably like we're going to pick our favorite. So I'm going to say it's Khabib's lying. Jorge would not lie, man.
You're saying Usman's lying? I'm saying Masvidal's definitely lying. He's not taking that fight.
What?
Usman seemed more adamant.
Street Jesus.
And Usman had more reasons. He's like, look, the UFC told me no, he doesn't want to fight. He's overweight. He can't make 170. He's drinking all that alcohol he just put out. And I'm like, yeah, that seems likely. That's what I'd be doing if I had a new liquor and it was given to me for free and I had nothing else to do and I had no fight coming up. Like, yeah, I understand. So I believe Kamaru Usman, but I'm not sure. I just think it's funny that they each have the same story. It's like UFC offered him a fight, and he doesn't want to fight me. He's scared. No, he's scared to fight me. It's like, what is going on here with Usman and Masvidal?
But think about it. Maybe Dana played both of them. That's what happened. That's the truth.
I don't understand.
No matter
what's the
refuse
play?
The fight. Like, we can't blame anybody to refuse a fight on what date are we? We're the second? Like on what, 16-day notice? Like I wouldn't blame Usman or I wouldn't blame Masvidal for refusing that fight.
I wouldn't blame anybody for refusing a fight on 16 days notice, especially under these circumstances, but I will blame somebody for refusing a fight and then lying about it. Like if somebody's like I don't think there's any shame in saying if you're Masvidal, look, I didn't want to fight right now. I'm not in shape. I'm not ready to fight in 2 weeks. We're going to fight when I'm good and ready to fight. Let Usman wait until I'm ready to fight. Like, I don't really have a problem with a fighter saying that. I think that there's a way to do it and still sound cool. You know, pro wrestlers do it all the time. You know, no, we're going to fight on my terms. I'm not going to fight you here in this stupid city. I'm going to fight you in the other city that's better than this city. You know, wrestlers do it all the time. So UFC fighters could do it as well. I think it makes a lot of sense. And I don't really fault a fighter for not taking a fight, especially now during coronavirus times. But, you know, if Masvidal was offered the fight, and he turned it down, but he's saying publicly, no, it's not true. Usman turned it down with me. You know, I'd like to see the documents. Where's Alex Jones when you need him to send us the documents?
Yeah, get Alex Jones.
He's busy on other stuff.
I guess he's busy right now.
Get a lie detector test.
He's watching that Hillary special on Netflix.
Stuff next week.
Yeah, he's watching the Hillary special on Netflix. He's enjoying himself.
No, he's
watching the Tiger King
stuff next week, he says.
Yo, Tiger King review on this week's episode of Dave and Johnny Live. I'll be there. Johnny North will be there. AJ and Fred, are you guys going to be special guests for the Tiger King review this week?
Yeah, man. I watched the whole
What
like
time?
all,
Maybe, man.
7, 8 episodes.
Text me tomorrow.
All right. Well, Fred is a maybe. AJ is for sure. A special edition of Dave and Johnny Live with special guests AJ and Fred. Be sure to check us out this weekend. Wrestling Uncensored will be our WrestleMania preview show. And then we're going to be doing live watch-alongs for WrestleMania on Saturday and Sunday night. So check us out Saturday and Sunday night on the YouTube channel. RingsideReport.net will have all the videos there on the front page. You can just click and watch us live, 8 p.m. Saturday, 8 p.m. on Sunday. I'll be here. Johnny North will be here. Freddie will be here. AJ will be here. We'll have special guests. My brother will be here. Maybe some other pro wrestlers. You never know who may show up on the Wrestling Uncensored Ringside Report Network. WrestleMania live watch-along. It's WrestleMania weekend, guys. It doesn't feel like it. It's weird times that we're living in. There's going to be no crowd for WrestleMania. But, hey, it's WrestleMania weekend. Trying to get amped up. Undertaker and AJ Styles is going to be cool. Randy Orton and Edge is going to be cool. Sami Zayn and Daniel Bryan for the Intercontinental Championship. And then a bunch of other matches that I care less about. But those 3 matches should be pretty cool. So that's WrestleMania coming up this weekend. That's the show for you tonight. RingsideReport.net is the website. Go there. Follow AJ at Danny Brook on Twitter and Instagram. Follow Freddie at Freddie MMA. You can follow me at Dave Simon MMA. Thank you to everybody watching us live on YouTube and Facebook. Thank you to everybody listening to us on the radio. Thanks to everybody helping us out on TSN 690 and listening to us all around the world on iTunes or however you get your podcasts at RingsideReport.net. Guys, I love you big time. I miss you. I can't wait to see you again in the Ringside Report studios.
Virtual hug. Hey, Dave, tomorrow, what time is the show at? 12:45?
AJ, stay on the thing. I'll talk to you after the show, okay? We'll talk after the show about this, AJ. For everybody else, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. For Fred, for AJ, I'm Dave. This has been Ringside
Port. Hashtag
Port.
not guilty.